I thought I didn't like Claymore. I've read it twice before rereading it recently, and I was sure it was one of those series that went into the pile. But I'm happily surprised that I was wrong. Let's take it back a couple of years. I'm on a massive manga binge, just going through a couple of series a week. I'm genuinely just googling recommendations to read and then smashing them out. Toriko, Berserk, Hajime no Ippo, Vagabond, whatever, I just want to read. And then I come across Claymore, and my first reaction is,
"What is wrong with your face?"
Okay, maybe not that bad, but there's a few things I do remember thinking during my first read-through. The art is bad, you can't tell the main characters apart. There's too many characters changing, particularly in the top 5 of the organization. I can't follow the characters, and I'm bored. And that was where Claymore was sitting with me until recently. It wasn't a series I enjoyed in the past, and I had no real desire to hit it again. But I'm currently reading through another book, and it got me thinking about Claymore again. So I thought I'd dip my toes in and see if my memory was correct. And I can safely say, it was not. I jumped into the first chapter on Monday, finished the series on Tuesday. It's been a while since I binged a series so quickly. For some context, I guess I'm someone who, when a series starts slowing down, I generally drop it for the day before picking it up again. I was going through Game of Thrones recently, and every time it got to an Arya chapter, that book went down. But for Claymore, I never really found any moments to put it down. For those who haven't read it, the story revolves around Claire the Claymore. Monsters known as Yoma hide themselves as humans in the world, and it's up to the Claymores to hunt them, a Claymore being a human turned half Yoma through experimentation. However, if Claymores pull too much from this Yoma power inside them, they awaken into something even worse called an awakened being. And that's already compelling on its own. The Claymores walk this knife's edge of needing the power of their Yoma half, but having to fight to suppress that Yoma mentality. We see some characters who fail this balance, falling completely to the bloodlust or despising themselves for it and holding on until another Claymore can take them out. From there, things steadily increase from Yoma to awakened beings to even bigger threats, Claire and her comrades having to find new ways to meet those growing threats. And when I say steadily increase, I mean this series handles its power escalation so well. A lot of series will have these big power jumps, a transformation or a new power that's needed to escalate the tension. But Claymore has this really nice curve, where the powers grow at pace with the series without sacrificing the initial ideas to new powers. Along the way, we also get some more intrigue and details around the major players in the world. I know the reveal of the organization's real intentions isn't for everyone, but I do appreciate its inclusion. The world of Claymore isn't some well-realized, fleshed-out system of territories and rules. We're not going to learn about the cities in the country or the limits of what an awakened being can do. In an interview with the author, he says he really doesn't care that much about world building because there's a tendency for the story to get caught up in that when the protagonist should be off in their own plot. That's why I like the organization reveal. The world has been shown to not matter, and the reveal kind of justifies it. The world that we see doesn't matter to both the reader and in the story. It's not important to the plot, so why waste time building it? We're here for the characters, and the information around the organization is the only bit of deeper world building that we need. But I do have to admit, past me wasn't completely wrong. I'm still not a huge fan of this art style. By the end of the series, it improves hugely. The creature designs and the movement can be downright gorgeous. But at the beginning, it's rough, and it takes a while to actually hit its stride. The characters feel flat, the world feels empty, the action feels really stiff. There's a lot of characters talking on blank backgrounds or in barren areas. As much as we try not to let it, first impressions do matter, so this sets up the series poorly. Likewise, I used to not like how similar all the main cast look, and I still feel the same way. I think you certainly can tell the difference in all the main cast while you're reading, but if you held up a photo of one of the Claymores that aren't Claire, Miria, or Teresa, I would not be able to put a name to that face. Now, if you're some big stud manga reviewer, you might say the homogeny in their design shows how replaceable and transient the Claymores are. Their visuals are a reflection of their characters being repressed and crushed by the organization. Whereas me, your standard Melvin who just wants to read, says I can't tell who's speaking and it's horribly distracting. It's making it a hard time to connect to these characters. I think the other biggest drawback to the series is that it's a dark medieval fantasy, and when it comes to dark medieval fantasies, we have some really phenomenal series that it gets paired up against. The main character is this emotion-hiding monster slayer, despised by the general public. They get paired up with a lighter character to balance them out. There's this idea of the main character giving up their humanity for the power they need to succeed. Over the course of their journey, they learn to rely more on others and make connections. They carry their sword on their back, symbolic of their profession and demeanor. The world they occupy is hostile, with different factions, creatures, or kingdoms vying for power. While a certain manga would fit here, I'm actually talking about a book. The book I happen to be reading at the moment that got me thinking about Claymore again. The Witcher. Does Claymore carve out its own niche in this market? Yes, I think it does. But if it came down to a recommendation, I'd much rather suggest to you the fantastical world of The Witcher or the dark and grueling journey of Guts in Berserk. If you're looking for more of that style, Claymore should certainly be on your radar. If it's your first foray into series like this, there are better things to be reading. Overall, I found Claymore a really surprising reread. It was much better paced than I remember, likewise the art, and overall, I just enjoyed reading through it. There was never a time I wanted to stop reading. It kept me engaged the whole time, which is certainly a feat across its 150-something chapters. All in all, a series I'm glad I was reminded of to take another look at and have my opinions changed. If you were in the same boat as me, maybe it's time to give Claymore another try. Thanks for watching. This has been CG, and I'll see you Gs in the next one.